guys, so another topic that I wanted to discuss today is what did I want to discuss? Oh, in my 10 years of reading tarot, I noticed that a lot of people fear time alone, they fear solitude, they fear getting to know themselves. And the irony of this is that a lot of people are coming to tarot readers for people to just kind of like tell them who they are. Even if they don't blatantly say that, they're basically showing up without doing the work and they're saying, tell me who I am. Which in one regard, that can be kind of fun and mysterious, but in my mind as an introvert, that fucking scares the fuck out of me. And so something that comes so easily for me as an introvert is not easy for the rest of the world. And even I didn't even realize I was an introvert until I became an adult. I started reading books about introversion. When I was younger, also, the family unit that I grew up in, they didn't know how to raise an introvert. They thought something was wrong with you and they forced you to be extroverted. So it wasn't until I got older that I realized that I'm an introvert, and then I started spending a lot of time by myself because that's what I prefer. It helps me recharge, but I honestly prefer being in my own essence, maybe a little too much. But this is to my advantage in my line of work because I always say to know yourself is to know other people. And the thing about learning yourself and knowing yourself, it is a lot of work. And what I mean by that is like the deeper you go, it's like you're digging the deeper you're going into darkness, the deeper you're going into your own soul. And a lot of people are not trying to swim that deep. And so a lot of people only, every day, a lot of times people are only having very superficial, very surface level conversations because that's where they're at. And so a lot of people will say, like, you know, a lot of people who truly know themselves and spend time, sorry, all this noise. A lot of people who spend time by themselves, they say, well, if I feel lonely or people don't get me because a lot of people aren't doing the work, or they just aren't there yet. And so when it comes to seeing that a lot of people come to me because they don't know themselves, again, that's very scary because you're leaving it up to someone else to tell you who you are. And a lot of times it's easier to do that. It's easier to have the world tell you who you are and not question it. In school, we're not really taught critical thinking. We're not taught to question things, to challenge things. Most of the time we're taught to be cordial, to have order, all of these things. And so but yeah, when you embark on this journey and getting to know yourself, you're saying that I will go deeper and deeper no matter what, and I will do what it takes to learn myself. And again, to know yourself is to know other people. So since I'm a human being and I'm learning myself, this helps me in my craft because at the core, I know that we're all human. We have certain feelings that are going to be the same across the board. But if you're scared to be with those feelings, or you don't understand empathy and how to connect with others because you aren't doing it with yourself, it all has a cause and effect. And this is also where that term of shadow work comes in that people love. Shadow work is just another word for also going deep into this dark space in yourself that is hidden or not yet discovered. And that's scary. So when people think of even like metaphysics, the occult, it's scary because people are not willing to go deeper in a lot of things. A lot of things can be solved by saying, let me see for myself. But because sometimes maybe it's religion or however we grew up, people are teaching us like, you know, it's very demonic or sinful to think for yourself. You need someone who is the all-knowing vessel to tell you what it is and to convey from this, you know, this Bible or this scripture. But no, you can't trust yourself. And so that's not saying that it's just religion, but it is a huge part. But so many things, even your parents, society teaches you, no, you can't trust yourself. You need to be a good worker. You need to be doing things to fall in line. And so not only are people scared of being alone and learning themselves, it's not encouraged. It's actually discouraged a lot of times. It's actually discouraged because you aren't going to be easily controlled at that point if you know too much. If you know too much of yourself, you know too much of like hidden or forgotten knowledge, then people people can no longer tell you who you are. That's like the worst thing in the world. But I've also encountered people who maybe they're extroverts, but people who are they need others. It's a very scary space to be in when you need people. Like you need them to validate you. You need them to have a sense of purpose. To an extent, we're all human beings. We all want validation. We all want connection. But at some point, we have to learn balance, and so that it's not a detrimental aspect to us, and that it's not hurting us. I think it's all about balance. And too often, I feel like people who spend a lifetime chasing the validation and approval of others, or I need to be friends with these people who don't even like me. And at some point, you have to decide what's worth it and what the price is. The price might be too high to keep doing that, to where you have to come back to yourself eventually. Either way, it's either now or further 30 years from now, you're going to have to face yourself. And so I thought it was wild to see that a lot of people are just not facing themselves because of fear. And again, it's scary to feel, but that's the core of what makes us a human being. And if you look at our society, we have a lot of people who are like self-medicating. We have so many vices. Now we have social media, and we get to avoid ourselves even more. But honestly, we can never skip over. I always tell my clients, you can never skip steps. And at some point, we have to face ourselves regardless, if you want a chance to evolve or to reach your fullest potential. And it's not scary, but it can be perceived as scary the longer you put it off. And you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and learning yourself. And you have to be curious. You have to be curious about knowing that there's something more, or you're always going to be wondering like, man, I know there's something deeper, but I just can't put my finger on it. And that's where you start getting regret. That's when you start getting anxious. That's when you start living a full life of like, man, I feel like I've just lived a life with a wool over my eyes and just oblivious to what truly is. And again, a lot of this isn't encouraged, because when you start thinking for yourself, you start thinking about all kind of stuff, questioning all kind of stuff. And again, it takes a lot of courage. And some people have different times where this happens in their life. But honestly, I feel like I go back to this quote of like, the person who can stand alone is like one of the most powerful people there is. And again, I don't want to glamorize hyper individualism. I am very big on independence and having your own personality, because I think it's super important to understand that we're all our own people and we have gifts to offer. And we need to know also when to have community and when to let people in. But also, being alone is a pivotal part of spirituality. Of any story that you've read or seen, it's always someone spending time in the mountains, in some bushes, in some desert, some journey where you're going to be alone at some point in your life. So you might as well get comfortable with it and learn yourself. Because to know yourself is to know other people and vice versa. And yeah, you just can't be scared. I don't know what's so scary about this. And again, I can't maybe see fully from other people's perspective because I'm an introvert and I'm a loner. But it's nothing scary about this journey. It's just, a lot of times I think it's people making something bigger than what it is. And really, you just got to take that first step. And a lot of times you have to bring self-awareness and illuminate what you're afraid of. So getting self-help books might help this a little bit, for example. A lot of spiritual texts help me with this. A lot of books that help me question the world. So a lot of Don Miguel Ruiz, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I say his name, Eckhart Tolle. And literally books on psychology. So it's like a lot of books help me in my life. But yeah, you have to be willing to learn. Knowledge is power, man. But yeah, this is just part one. It just blew my mind when I came to that realization not long ago that a lot of people are scared to be alone. So curious to what you guys think.